Born ready. I've missed you all. Welcome to the See Her Soar community, where we highlight some of the most inspiring, visionary leaders, women who are paving their own way and changing the world all around them. Now, I know I always fangirl out because we have such remarkable folks who come and join us. But I think my friend Ms. Wells here is going to rock your world just a little bit. But before I try and put your excellence in my words, would you explain to our community who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Absolutely. So, hello, everyone. My name is Joycelyn Wells, and I struggle with just the title because there are many things that I'm gifted with and I feel compelled to share. So, I usually kind of sum it up to I'm on my Harriet Tubman-ish. I'm going to freedom, and I want people to come with me. I'm leading people to freedom, leading folks to freedom, one publication at a time. And the reason I say that is because that's where freedom exists outside of our words and us releasing our ideas to the universe. And the more we can release them, the freer we feel, that we're more powerful and confident in our ideas when we know we can do it. And that's what freedom means to me. And that's what I do.
That's so cool. That's wonderful. But you do it using a lot of, you mentioned you're creative, and so that makes sense. But you mentioned it using, but you use a lot of modalities in which to connect with people, which I think for all learners is really important in all mechanisms. So would you break down some of all the things that you do and chances for people to engage, all of which the contact information to get in touch with you is posted right under this video at this time?
Okay, so I'm going to back up. I'm going to tell the story of how I got here. So I started writing a few years ago. Writing books have always been my friends because they understood me and always great information. But I wrote a book on a whim a few years ago, and I've always worked for someone else. And the first story that I wrote, I let a guy friend of mine read it, and it was so weird because the story was actually about a bath. I asked someone to give me a bath and they did it. And so I shared it. And he was like, this is brilliant. You've got to keep writing. This is amazing. And so I wrote this story and then I started writing other stories and it became a book. That's how I wrote it, right? And then it was like once I set that free, it cleared up so much noise in my mind because I was a single woman preoccupied with my sexuality and my desires. And that's where I was focusing so much energy. But once I was given the opportunity to kind of delve into myself and pull the goodness out of my experiences, it freed up so much space in my mind. So other things started coming to me. Someone who wrote a book and they wanted it published, brought it to me to publish. And then more clients came to publish. And then I was working on my websites and developing what I was and why. And then other people are like, I saw your website. Will you do my website? And it just started coming. And the only thing I did was set myself free. I set myself free and put myself out there. And that's how all of these different things happen. And the podcast is Wednesdays at 9. I'm still writing. I have other books. I have, I think, 10 clients that I've published for. I've probably 8 or 9 websites that I manage. Small business solutions. It's kind of like, you're right. It's kind of all over the place. But the one commonality is people see the goodness in me and the quality of what I can present, and they want that for their business. They want that for their business, and they see it in me, and I'm grateful.
Man, that's a heck of a tagline. And I love that. I always think the best successes come from our personal experience, especially the scars, sometimes the wounds it's hard to create from. But, and then using that as a conduit to give all different pathways for others to find the same feeling of both freedom and success, which can be interchangeable but don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really cool. So if an author is interested in working with you, they can contact you through your website and see if y'all are a good fit.
Yes. So what I usually suggest, because it's a lot of times people are afraid, and what I do with my authors when they want to write, because they'll send me a manuscript and they're afraid, and I just tell them I'm going to read it, and if they I'm going to read it, I'm going to see what you want to do with it, how you feel once I get through, and then we'll move forward. And initially, I set up a 30-minute work session weekly to sit and talk with the author about what they've written, because usually new authors write for themselves and they understand what the 4 lane is, but the reader in California doesn't know what they're talking about. So I kind of help them to pick it out a little bit more. So once they start picking it out a little bit more and that story starts to develop, they even become bolder in setting their words free. They're no longer afraid of what this person's going to say, because they're going to think it's, I kind of work through all of that, and I understand how fragile the idea of handing over your work is. It's you want it protected, right? So you want it sacred. You still need it sacred to you. But I also understand how people are so caught up in the noise of their life and the traffic in their lives and their ups and their downs that it's the one thing that's literally going to give them an opportunity to live. And I present that and I stay firm on it. And I am probably available way too much for conversations with my authors, but because I have to make sure they're safe and they have to trust me with their words.
Well, and one of the beautiful things about creation, especially something like a piece of art
Mm-hmm.
as a writer, is it can be eternal.
Yep.
And that means your impact has no limitation. And so I think having somebody as a conduit and a guide through that process is critically important. And I think a lot of us have a lot of things that we want to write about and connect to, and we haven't found somebody who both understands the process and can guide and mentor. And so, hello.
Yeah, exactly.
The search is over.
But it's really just interesting because I even have authors in there like I didn't sell any books this month, and they and get really frustrated, and I literally explain to them that your words may not impact a million today, but it may in 100 years. Like your words are your words, and they're protected in the Library of Congress for the extent of the United States. Your words are there, and you're not necessarily putting them out to serve this moment. You're putting them out to establish what this moment was in this time, and your perception is key to people understanding what it looked like during this time. What it looked like during the time that you may have been hooked on drugs, and your response to it and why, or if you were in prison and the things that happened to you there, and the stories, the story that got you there. So it may not be right now, but the fact that you did it, that is the greatest gift that you can give to this country, to the universe, because you've released it and it allows you to continue to grow. And I wholeheartedly maintain that.
I dig that. I like you better than I liked my literary agent. That's all I'm saying. So, but you are not by any means one dimensional. And, you've got this wonderful energy and positivity. And yet I'm confused by you either choosing it to challenge yourself, or perhaps it's just you enjoy it. What moved you to climb the very large mountain, Mount Vesuvius, and what was that experience like?
So I just I'm in awe by things, everything. I want to experience as much of life as I can. And I went to Italy for a month, and I would have gone last summer, COVID. But so two summers ago, I went to Italy for a month, and I just kind of went around by myself, and I had a girlfriend that lived there. She was working, so I did a lot of movement by myself. And one of the things I wanted to do was to climb Mount Vesuvius. And I was there for a month, and you could see it in the distance. You could see the sulfur billowing. Some mornings you could smell it. Some mornings you could see the yellow in the fog. Like, it was just there. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And I was just like, because I had gone to Pompeii, and so I'd seen so much. And I was like, damn it, I know that I'm not here and I'm not climbing this mountain. Like, that's all I've thought about. Like, and I leave in the morning. So I got up and got the little train down, the little local train, and it was just me. My friend was at work. She didn't even know I was going until after. And I just went, and I laughed. I just told this story that there's an ambulance at the bottom of the mountain, and then there's somebody selling walking sticks, right? And so I was like, hell, I don't need a walking stick. I got this. But what I didn't realize is that the mountain is covered in ash. So it's not solid ground. So you walk and you slide. You walk and yeah.
That does not sound pleasant.
Yeah. But I did it, right? And I was like, I can quit. Nobody will know because nobody really knows that I'm here. But then I thought, what if somebody asked me what it looks like on the inside of the volcano? And I don't have an organic answer. I can't put it in my words. I can't say what I smelled. I can't say what it felt like. Like, what if somebody asked me for a truth, and my truth is I didn't go? Like, I can't lie because that questions my integrity, and people then trusting me working with fidelity, so it was all of these things. And I was like, I've got to go. I've got to make it to the top. And I just kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. And then all of a sudden I'm looking over the lip into the volcano, and I was like, shit.
Well, it sounds very much like it's what you are trying to give to the people you help.
Absolutely.
To hear the call,
yep.
Push yourself, and free yourself.
And free yourself. That was it. That was it. And I did it. And I was just like, I was so proud. And I was thinking, like, when I get to the bottom, I'm just gonna get me a bottle of wine. That's what's like, I'm celebrating.
Yeah, listen, and I think that's something, and I love that you said that I think that's something that we don't do enough, is we will beat ourselves up for our missteps.
Yeah.
We should give as much attention to our successes.
Yes.
Because that makes us more driven to not only achieve them,
yep.
but also realize pain is inevitable. Joy should be embraced.
Absolutely.
And they go hand in hand. But I like to mention, because I did not know this until recently, and I consider myself pretty high in emotional intelligence, but I never realized that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Is an option. That's right.
Yeah. And that rolls with me a lot. Like, when it comes to dealing with things that frighten me, is that pain's not going to go away. So you've got to go forward. You got to go left. You got to go right. Whatever you're going to do, you've got to move.
Got to do
or
it.
Else you're just suffering.
Yep.
And that serves no one.
On my podcast, at the very beginning, I have a segment called 3 Cheers of Joy. And I literally force my listeners to have to think of 3 things that they're celebrating. And I'm real, because sometimes one of my cheers may be, hell, I got out of bed today. Like, I just didn't think I was going to make it, but I did. And, the lights were green when I was driving to work. I just find things, because my thing is, if we don't celebrate the goodness in us, it's going to be unlikely that somebody else does. And we're very apt to celebrate our children, our spouses, our lovers. But we may not get the celebratory things that we need. So it's okay to say, I was badass today. That's okay to say that. I killed it today. Or this was a low day, bear with me. But we got to find that, because it puts us there, and it makes us realize that the human in us is required to suffer, to recognize the pain and to move beyond it without staying in it. Like, ugh, that's what we don't want to do. Don't stay in the pain. Yeah.
Man, that's some solid wisdom. And what is super cool is that you are kind enough on Wednesday nights to live stream your podcast so people can really connect. You know, I imagine people are very drawn to you and your energy. And so you've given them a space where they can come get a little joy in their life.
And you know what? And I realized this space is probably more for them than me, because I can talk through stuff. I can talk through stuff with myself. Like, I was just having a problem with my setting up my camera on Restream. It wouldn't connect to my webcam. It was on my my MacBook. And I was like, why isn't this working? And it gives me time to flick this stuff around in my mind to find the solutions. And I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Or why was I mad at him because of that? That was really my decision. So it's like my therapy. I say this is my therapy, because I can go in fired up and then be like, oh, that wasn't anything. I don't know why I was so mad about that. I just keep going.
But isn't that always the way? Like, I think it's probably just part of human psychology that we protect ourselves. We get caught up in something small because what really scares us may be too difficult to speak.
Right.
So, which again, you're trying to, none of us are one thing. And so I think that's one of the reasons why your work, you're helping people, even if they don't, I presume, even if they don't want to publish, even if they just need to go through the process.
Tell their story. Yep. I have there's an actor who lives in Houston, and he's not a writer, but he wants to tell a story. He doesn't know if he wants to publish it, but he just feels like he wants to tell it. And I'm literally going to Houston to spend 3 days with him and his agent for him to tell his story, for me to write it, put it in a book form for him to hold. He doesn't want to do anything with it. He just feels like there's something he needs to get. And we talked, we had a 30-45 minute conversation about what that means, because he's like, I just can't get rid of it. Like, I keep going to it and having to process it, and I can't get over it. And I'm like, okay, so this is what we can do. And we start talking through it, and he was like, but I don't want anybody to read it. I said, and nobody has to read it. But just for you to, you're not going to write it. You don't have time. You're not going to type it. You said you don't type, so I'll come, tell me the story. I'll put the story together. I said, and me putting it together may not even sound exactly like you. It may give it a different spin, and maybe you do want to, but just to sit down and release it so you can move forward in your life, let's do it.
That's awesome. And so I really love that you are a shepherd of people's needs and their stories, and they're allowed to change and evolve just like you continually change and
they're
evolve.
encouraged. We need them. We need, people need them. We need the goodness of each other so that we can perpetuate goodness in this world. Like, we need goodness. Like, we need for you to yank that scab off that yucky sore you've been hiding and heal, so we can get what the universe has given you. We need that. And I think the pandemic has provided that opportunity for people to just stop and face themselves. Like, look at yourself and say, this is, my life sucks. Like, say that so that you can look at ways to change it and move forward, because once the pandemic ends, we can't do status quo or old ways. It's going to be all new. This is new times coming, and I'm excited about it. And I'm excited for people to realize this is the great leveling field of goodness. Like, it's like, I'm excited.
Yes, it has definitely been a terribly difficult, and not because, having to shelter at home or wear a mask, but the fear and people that you love, and the tremendous loss of life.
Yes.
But it also feels very much like, like a seasonal, where we are in a season where things break down. So like in spring, they can rise again. And that I do think is the beauty on the other side. Not ever to minimize the pain people have experienced.
Oh, we've all like, I would say I never experienced much death. Like we have a small family. People just don't die regularly. Since the pandemic, I've probably had 6 people or connected to that. And to me, it was like, wait, what? Like to my mind didn't understand the finality of those lives of people that I shared and love with. Right. So it has been very difficult, very, very trying. And I know that we're all suffering still. To me, I have to look for the light of, we haven't had another time where we've had to have people take care of themselves. And we've had always tell people on the airplanes, put your mask on first. In the event of emergency, put your mask on. This literally has forced us to put our mask on first, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can die and not take care of the people around us. So we have to literally take care of ourselves. Like, this is that thing that says, tell yourself the truth about where you are, take care of yourself. And by doing those things, you're now given the opportunity to take care of people around you. But it is definitely interesting learning season. It is. I have learned a lot about myself.
Yeah, same, same. And you know, and it has really made me even more committed to helping support the economic freedom and mobility for other women, because women are remarkably more adversely affected by this pandemic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Your time is incredibly valuable while you're doing 500 different things, and you may decide later this afternoon to climb something. So I want to just real quick before we break up the band here.
Okay.
You have a quote on the homepage of your website, and it's self-health and personal empowerment.
Yes.
Tell me what that means to you.
Okay. So in 2000, and I was in graduate school, and I was sitting there just thinking, and the acronym came to me, self-health and personal empowerment. And I wrote it out, and I was like, oh, that's shape. That's shape, right? So I didn't know what I was supposed to do with that. Like, I just literally had it. I didn't do anything with it. Even in conjunction with my graduate school thesis, I didn't make any connection. And so fast forward, when I wrote my book and started having the conversations about it, I realized that was me. That was the shape of me. That was my self health and personal empowerment, because I set myself free. And I started using that for my publishing company. And then as the company evolved, to my overall business solution. So my shape solutions. And it just means that everything is right here. Like, I couldn't be a good wife to my ex-husband, and I thought I was being a good wife to him, but I wasn't taking care of myself, right? I was taking care of him, and if he's taking care of him and I'm taking care of him, who's taking care of me? Right? So these are all things that I had to be super introspective about. And when there's a problem, angry at the grocery store or mad at somebody, it all came back to me. I can never place blame on somebody for my response to a situation. Myself, my physical health, my personal empowerment. No one has more control over me than me. And I just decided that, and no, I would never give up control like that again.
I got to write that down. That's a gem. I suggest everybody pause, rewind, listen to that again. Because I have talked with a lot of people in my day and seen a lot of brilliant people, but you know, there's some real nuggets of truth that I think are very empowering. In closing, I just want to share something that you were gracious enough to share with us. And, you know, talking about 2020, what it taught you. And I'm going to read it verbatim because I don't want to do anything but get your words precise. You said, I am on my own path to being of purpose. I am free. I think that is spellbinding, but tell me how you landed on that and reflecting on the past year.
So in the past year, to me, it just made me understand that nobody was coming to save me. Like, it's like, you know it, but then you realize no one's coming to save you. So I talk about this on my podcast because March we went into, we had to go home, right? So the pandemic was really, we went home for 2 weeks and then we were home. In April, I think I kind of existed into, I just started drinking. I was drinking tequila. And then it got so bad that it was a hike for me to go to the kitchen. I just brought the bottle to the bedroom and I'm still drinking tequila. And so April for me was like a stupor. It was like the realization that, damn, we're in a pandemic. And people who haven't like read a lot about, did any kind of epidemiology and studies of disease, they're kind of like waiting for information. In my mind, I'm like, oh my God, we're talking Spanish flu pandemic. I'm like, so it took me through April to finally wake up and say, you're either going to die in this moment for inactivity or you're going to take care of yourself. And so May 1st, I just got up and started walking. And as I was walking, ideas are coming and I felt myself, I was free. And I realized that the only thing that's going to keep me in this moment is me, because I wasn't allowing anybody else to keep me in the moment. So the only thing that would hold me hostage would be myself and my mind. And I had already decided that that wasn't going to happen, that I was free. I'm a free Black American woman in this country. I am empowered. My words are protected. My vote is protected. I have a country.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. I have a country that is in disarray about many things, but I am very proud to be an American. And people have asked me about that because I tell them when I leave the United States, I am what they see. I am America to them. And that means there's strength in that and there is honor in that. And people want to take care of you and they want to make sure that you're safe. And so that has just been my experience as a Black woman in this country. And I'm finally, in my mind, I'm free. I'm not waiting for somebody to give or do. I'm going to go get it. If it's what I want, I'm going to get it. I'll ask for forgiveness later, but permission I won't.
And I mean, I think that is, whoo, that's a whole lot of empowerment and a whole lot of truth and not a lot of time. So I'm going to suggest two things. Number one, watch this twice, because I think the gems are too good. You'll be surprised what you missed the first time. And the second thing is, get in touch. Check out the websites we've posted. Start a conversation. Process out what you need to release into the world. And here is a remarkable guide ready to take you there.
Yes, thank you.
Let's take flight. Thank you so much. It is Joycelyn Wells Day here at See Her Soar, and may it be an annual holiday.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, we appreciate you.
Thank you.